Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we've got a really specific mission, actually. It's pretty high stakes if you're studying. We're taking on human resource management, HRM, and turning this, well, pretty dense field into a high-impact study guide. So if you're prepping for an exam, maybe cramming for a big meeting, or just trying to get a solid handle on this stuff quickly but, thoroughly, then you are definitely in the right place. We're basically boiling down a whole stack of essential HRM sources, the core ideas, the processes, the psych theories, into critical takeaways, stuff that'll stick when you need it most.
That's absolutely the plan.
Yeah.
This deep dive, it's really structured to go way beyond just memorizing definitions. Our aim is for you to really grasp the why behind it all, the philosophy, the interconnected processes that actually make HRM work. Because that understanding, being able to link planning to motivation theories, that's the difference between just repeating facts and genuine mastery. And it's crucial for exams, sure, but also for actually doing HR in the real world.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning, where any strategic function has to start, defining what we're even talking about. Our sources, they tell us that at its heart, HRM covers pretty much all activities needed for managing manpower. It's the whole package. The philosophy, policies, procedures, day-to-day practices, everything concerning employees. The people engine room, really.
And if you need a definition that acts like a perfect map, seriously, this is one to kind of mentally tattoo for exams. Look at Dick, Enzo, and Robbins. They nail it. They define human resource management explicitly as a four-part ongoing process. We often call them the four pillars: acquisition, development, motivation, and maintenance. Those four.
Acquisition, development, motivation, maintenance. Okay, let's actually use those four pillars as our roadmap for this whole chat. Acquisition is getting the right people in. Development makes sure they grow. Motivation keeps them plugged in and performing. And maintenance. That handles all the structures pay, conflict resolution, all that needed to keep things running smoothly and, well, keep people productive.
Exactly. That four-part process, it just perfectly captures the whole function. And it sets the stage for why HR even exists.
Yeah.
So before we get into how the processes we really need to anchor ourselves in the significance, the reasons why HRM is vital, because it's not just, an overhead cost. The 5 areas we're about to unpack, they show benefits that help both sides. They help the employee and the organization. It's a two-way street.
A reciprocal relationship. Okay, got it. So let's unpack the significance. 5 areas. Let's start with quality of work life. QWL. Sounds simple, maybe, but it feels really powerful.
It is. QWL basically refers to the overall quality, or you could say productivity level, of employees at work. It's defined by how employees feel about both their physical productivity, like, are the tools okay? Is the environment decent? And their psychological productivity. Do I feel safe, supported, valued?
And the HR manager's role here isn't just passive, is it? They need to actively make an effort. The sources mention things like reducing work-life stress, maybe easing the workload, but it's not just taking things away, right? It's adding positives too, like strategic rewards, recognition, maybe financial perks like spot bonuses or gift cards, if the budget allows. It's about making people feel genuinely valued. That seems to boost QWL significantly.
And moving to the second point of significance, HRM is absolutely vital for meeting the demand and supply gap for people. Sounds basic, I know, but it's fundamental. The HR manager has to make sure the right human resources are available when needed. And it's not just about numbers, having enough bodies. It's finding the right fit for the organization. People who will perform well, be productive, and help meet those bigger goals.
That right fit idea implies needing foresight, doesn't it? Planning ahead. So HR uses strategies like campus placements, recruitment drives. But the flip side, the maintenance part, sometimes means tough calls too. The sources mention things like layoffs for employees who aren't productive or whose skills just don't match where the business is going.
Yeah, the difficult decision, absolutely. But it's seen as necessary sometimes to maintain the overall quality and, frankly, the future health of the workforce, which in the long run benefits everyone still there and the company itself.
Okay. Third area of significance, training and overall development. T&D. This one's framed as an investment, right? Not just a cost. An investment expected to pay off later.
Exactly. It's an investment.
Yeah.
And it benefits both sides again. The employee gets new skills, becomes more valuable. The organization gets improved productivity, maybe becomes more agile.
And it's not just a one-off thing for new hires, is it?
No, definitely not. The materials make that clear. Training is for new and existing employees. It boosts current work, but also prepares people for future changes.
And the scope is wide. Not just technical stuff, it's also those softer skills, decision-making, leadership, critical thinking, the skills needed for strategic action.
Which leads directly into the fourth point. employee motivation and retention.
Mm.
The big task for HRM here is fostering a real sense of belongingness, feeling connected. Because if you feel like you belong, you're naturally more motivated to give your best effort.
And how do they do that? What are the methods?
Well, employee recognition programs are huge. Publicly acknowledging good work, being specific about it, that gives the job a purpose beyond just the paycheck. It encourages people to excel again.
Mm-hmm.
And also regular monetary benefits, things
Mm-hmm.
like meal coupons, maybe annual gift cards, tangible things that consistently reinforce an employee's value.
Okay. And the fifth point of significance, building a healthy work culture.
Right. The workplace has to be safe, comfortable, and critically valued by the people who work there. HR's job is to push for a culture that's democratic and transparent.
Democratic and transparent, meaning employees feel okay speaking up, sharing ideas, raising concerns without fear.
Exactly. That kind of culture builds trust. And ultimately, it's more productive. Because the sources emphasize happy, integrated employees, they produce more. They innovate more.
Okay, so quick recap for anyone studying. Those 5 points, QWL, demand, supply, T&D, motivation, retention, and culture, they're the why. The justification for HRM Central, not just admin.
Precisely. They prove HRM is core to success. Now let's shift gears into the foundational processes. Before you acquire, develop, motivate, or maintain anyone, you need a plan, a blueprint. That starts with planning and analysis.
Right. Let's dig into human resources planning. HRP, this is the roadmap, defining what manpower the organization needs now and in the future. Our sources lay out a pretty clear 5-step process for this.
Step 1 is absolutely fundamental. Understanding the goals and plans of the organization. Where's the company headed? Expansion, contraction, new tech. HR planning has to align with that. Step 2, assess the current HR situation. What skills do we have right now? What are the turnover rates? Demographics. Step 3, the human resources forecast, predicting future needs, factoring in growth, retirements, maybe technology shifts, changing the skills we need.
And once we see the gap between current and future needs.
Step 4 is implementation programs, the actual actions to close that gap. If the forecast says we need, say, 50 new software engineers, this step outlines how we're going to find them. Recruitment strategies, training plans, whatever it takes.
And the last step.
Step 5, audit and adjustment. This is crucial. It's the feedback loop. Did the plan work? Were the programs effective? What do we need to tweak for the next planning cycle?
Okay, so HRP is the strategic headcount plan. Running alongside that, or maybe feeding into it, is job analysis. This often gets seen as just paperwork, doesn't it? But the sources stress how critical it is.
Oh, absolutely critical. Job analysis is defined as the process of determining and, importantly, reporting pertinent information about a specific job. Systematically finding out what the job is.
And what kind of information are we talking about?
It's pretty exhaustive, really. Identifying the specific tasks, what machines or equipment are used, the materials or products involved, but crucially, it also includes the required training, the skills, the knowledge, and even the personal traits needed for someone to succeed in that job. It's the full profile.
There are a couple of expert definitions mentioned, Flippo and DeCenzo and Robbins.
Yeah, they highlight slightly different angles. Flippo talks about studying and collecting information relating to operations and responsibilities, focusing more on the data gathering. DeCenzo and Robbins call it a systematic exploration of the activities, emphasizing it's the technical procedure used to define duties, responsibilities, accountabilities, but both agree. It's systematic, it's detailed, and it's about understanding the job's content.
Knowing the definition is one thing, but why do it? What's the application? That seems key for anyone managing or studying this. Job analysis isn't just admin, you're saying. It feeds everything else. The sources list, 9 specific uses?
9 key applications, yeah. And understanding these really shows how central this data is. If you get job analysis wrong, everything downstream is potentially flawed. So, first, recruitment, selection, and orientation. Obvious? Maybe, but you can't hire well if you don't know precisely what you're hiring for. Second, redesign of the job. If the analysis shows the job is inefficient or structured poorly, you use the data to fix it. Third, performance appraisal. You can only fairly judge someone's performance against clear, defined responsibilities. Those come from the job analysis.
Let's pause on number 4, wage and salary administration. This feels like a big one where things can go wrong. People might just grab industry salary data, right? But if the job analysis wasn't thorough, if it didn't capture the real complexity, the decision-making involved.
Exactly. You end up paying market rate for a job description that doesn't match the actual work.
Right.
Or you underpay someone doing critical, complex tasks that weren't properly documented. The analysis isn't just listing duties, it's the justification for the compensation. It links the work to the value, and thus to the pay. A failure here in June can cause a payroll crisis by December. That connection is vital to grasp.
Okay, so that's a critical link. What are the others?
Fifth is labor relations. The analysis helps define what's in scope to the job and what's not, which is crucial in union environments or disputes. Sixth, organizational and manpower planning. It feeds directly back into HRP. Seventh, training and development. You identify training needs based on the skills gap highlighted by the analysis versus the person's current skills. Eighth, health and safety. Detailed task analysis helps spot risks that might not be obvious otherwise.
And the ninth one?
Ninth is career development. The analysis maps out the skills and responsibilities at different levels, helping chart clear progression paths for employees.
Wow, okay. So that list really drives home just how fundamental job analysis is. It touches pretty much everything.
Absolutely. So now we know what kind of jobs we need from job analysis and how many people we need from HRP. Now we can dive into that first pillar of the DiCenzo and Robbins process: acquisition, getting the talent.
Right, this is where it gets practical.
Yeah.
How do we actually find these people? Let's start with the widest part of the funnel: recruitment. Recruitment is defined as a process to discover manpower sources and use effective ways to attract enough qualified people, setting the stage for selection.
There's a good quote from Wendell French here. He says, recruitment is the process of finding qualified people and encouraging them to apply for work with the firm. The key word there is encouraging. It's about building a strong pool of interested, qualified candidates.
And like HRP, recruitment isn't random. It follows a structured process. 5 steps again.
Yes, 5 steps. First, recruitment planning, figuring out the exact numbers and types of people needed based on HRP and job analysis. Second, strategy development, deciding where and how to look. Internal first, external. Which methods? Third, searching candidates, the active part, actually reaching out using the chosen sources and methods. Fourth, screening applications, the initial filtering, often quick checks against minimum qualifications, sometimes automated. And fifth, evaluation and control, looking back. How well did the recruitment effort work? Did we get the right people? Was it cost effective?
Okay, let's talk about the sources. Where do organizations look? This seems like prime exam material. They're split into internal and external.
That's right. Internal sources mean looking inside the organization first. There are 4 main types listed. The big advantage here is you know these people, they know the culture, and they're available quickly.
What are the 4?
First, promotions, moving people up. Second, transfers, moving people sideways into different roles. Third, former employees. This includes rehiring people who left on good terms or recalling people who were laid off, often a great source, as you know their track record. And fourth, previous applicants, people who applied before and were good.
Makes sense. But you can't always fill roles internally. Sometimes you need new skills or just more people than you have. So external sources, there are quite a few, listed 9.
9, yeah. It's a broad list covering different approaches. Some are pretty aggressive, like poaching or raiding competitors for specific talent. Very targeted, can be sensitive. Then more focused approaches like executive searching or headhunting, usually using specialized firms for senior roles. Then you have the more common everyday sources, casual applications, people just sending in resumes. And referrals from candidates of present employees, often a really good source. Relying on educational institutes like universities for graduates. Using employment agencies, both public and private. Working with labor unions, especially in certain industries. Tapping into professional organizations for specialized skills. And finally, just a catch-all. Miscellaneous sources could be anything from job fairs to online ads, local flyers, you name it.
Okay, so that's where to look, but how do you actually contact them? The sources also talk about methods of recruitment, distinct from sources, internal and external methods.
Correct. For internal methods, 3 main ways. Job posting, making openings known internally, maybe on an intranet or bulletin board. Employee referral programs, actively encouraging and often rewarding current employees for bringing in successful hires. And maintaining good skill HR inventories databases that let HR proactively search within the company for needed skills.
And externally, what are the main methods?
Well, the traditional mass media ones are still there. Radio, television advertisements, and good old newspaper advertisements. Still useful for certain types of jobs or locations, but increasingly dominant is the third category. E-recruiting computerized methods. This is huge. Covers everything from LinkedIn, online job boards like Indeed or Monster, company career pages, targeted social media ads, all the digital channels.
So recruitment builds the big pool of applicants. Then comes the crucial next step in acquisition, selection. Selection is about filtering that pool, right? Choosing the best fit and, just as importantly, saying no to the unsuitable ones.
Exactly. Byers and Rue define it as the process of choosing from those available individuals who are most likely to perform successfully in a job. It's all about maximizing the odds of success and minimizing the risk and cost of a bad hire. Making a mistake here is really expensive.
And because it's so high stakes, the selection process is usually pretty thorough. Our sources outline 9 distinct steps. It's quite detailed.
It has to be fair and effective. It starts with the reception of applicants, just the initial contact, administrative intake, followed quickly by the preliminary interview, often short, maybe even just a phone screen, designed to weed out anyone obviously unqualified or missing basic requirements.
Then what?
Third, filling out the formal application blank form. Standardizes the information for easier comparison. Fourth, a really key step, the selection test. This varies hugely depending on the job. Could be aptitude tests, skills tests, personality questionnaires, maybe even assessment centers, trying to get objective data. Fifth is the main employment office interview. This is usually the deeper conversation, often with HR, focusing on competencies, experience, and cultural fit.
Okay, 5 steps down. What's next?
Sixth is investigation of the applicant's background. This means reference checks, verifying qualifications, maybe checking employment history, basically confirming the information provided is accurate.
And the final stages.
Seventh, the final selection interview. This often involves a hiring manager, maybe team members or senior leaders. It's usually where the final decision gets made, often based on fit and specific job requirements. Eighth, the medical examination. This is to ensure the candidate is physically capable of doing the job, especially important for safety-sensitive roles or jobs with specific physical demands. And then the ninth step, which leads us perfectly into the next big HRM pillar, induction or orientation, getting them started.
Right. Orientation bridges acquisition to the second pillar.
Yeah.
Development. Once you pick someone, the challenge is getting them integrated and helping them grow. This brings us to socialization and training.
Socialization. Yeah, that's the adaptation phase. It's defined as the process where a person picks up the knowledge, skills, and sort of organizational manners they need to become an effective member. DiCenzo and Robbins put it nicely. A process of adaptation that takes place as individuals attempt to learn the values and norms of work roles. Basically, learning how to operate successfully within that specific company culture, becoming part of the team.
And what's the point of this socialization process? The objectives. There are 5 listed.
Right, 5 main goals. First, familiarize the new person with the organization's culture, the unwritten rules, how things really get done. Second, the formal policies and rules. Third, their specific employment situation, who's on their team, daily tasks, reporting lines. Fourth, understanding their compensation and benefits package fully. And fifth, helping them learn how to navigate change within the organization, because change is constant.
To really get this for an exam, the sources break down the socialization process itself into stages, don't they? 3 stages plus outcomes.
Yes, that's a helpful model. First is the pre-arrival stage. This covers everything the person knows or expects before they even start, based on the recruitment process, interviews, their own research, maybe rumors.
Then comes the encounter stage. This is often called the reality shock phase.
Exactly. It's those first few weeks or months where they compare their expectations from pre-arrival with the actual day-to-day reality. If there's a big gap, that's when confusion or maybe disillusionment can happen. HR's role here is crucial, providing support, clarification, mentorship to help bridge that gap.
And if they get through the encounter stage?
They move into the metamorphosis stage. This is the longer-term adjustment. They start to feel comfortable, internalize the values, understand their role fully. They resolve the conflicts from the encounter stage. And this leads to the desired outcomes. Ideally, high productivity, strong commitment to the organization, and lower turnover, basically becoming a fully functioning, engaged employee.
Okay, so socialization is about adapting to the culture. But often, new hires and even existing employees need specific skills, which means training. But before you train, you need to know what to train on. That's the Training Need Assessment, TNA.
Correct. TNA is essentially a systematic survey. It gathers data to figure out precisely what training needs to be developed. Its goal is to look at the current knowledge, skills, and abilities, the KSAs of both employees and the organization as a whole, and identify where the gaps are, where are the needs. You can't just train randomly. It has to be targeted to be effective and efficient.
This brings us to a really important distinction. You mentioned this earlier, especially for exams. Training versus development. They sound similar, but they're different in HRM strategy.
Very different goals, yes. Training is generally short-term. It's systematic, organized, and usually aimed at non-managerial staff or for specific operational skills. It focuses on technical knowledge, practical skills for a definite purpose, like learning a new software system or a specific safety procedure. Dale S. Beach defines it as the organized procedure by which people learn knowledge and skills for a definite purpose, solving a current problem.
Okay, so training is specific, short-term, often technical. What about development?
Development is long-term. It's more of an educational process, usually geared towards managerial and executive staff. It focuses on broader conceptual and theoretical knowledge, thinking strategically, leadership skills, decision-making under uncertainty. It's for a general purpose, preparing people for future roles, future challenges. Rather than just optimizing today's tasks, it's building future leadership capacity.
Got it. Definite purpose versus general purpose. Short-term versus long-term. Non-managerial versus managerial focus. That's clear. Now, what about the methods used? The sources split them into on-the-job and off-the-job.
Yes, on-the-job methods happen right there in the work environment. They're very practical. Examples include apprenticeship, usually long-term, learning a skilled trade from a master craftsperson, job instruction training, JIT, a very structured step-by-step approach to teaching a specific task. Internship, typically for students or recent grads to get supervised work experience. And job rotation, moving employees between different jobs or departments to give them broader experience and understanding of the business.
Okay, those are hands-on. What about off-the-job methods? These happen away from the immediate work pressure.
Exactly. More classroom style or simulated environments. The classic lecture method, obviously. The conference method, which is more about guided discussion among peers. Case study analysis, great for developing analytical and problem-solving skills. Role-playing, good for practicing interpersonal skills like handling difficult conversations. Programmed instruction, which is self-paced learning, often computer-based now. And computer-assisted instruction, CAI generally. There are others too, like simulations, outdoor training.
And under the development umbrella, there's a specific focus on management development.
Yes, because developing leaders is seen as strategically vital. It's acknowledged as a long process, often expensive, but the goal is to increase the effectiveness of managers and executives so they can actually achieve the organization's big strategic goals. Dessler sums it up well. Management development is any attempt to improve managerial performance by imparting knowledge, changing attitudes, or increasing skills. It's about the whole package: knowledge, mindset, abilities.
Okay, so we've covered acquisition and development. Now we move to the third pillar, which is maintenance. And a huge part of maintenance seems to be handling things when they go wrong. Conflict resolution, specifically grievance handling.
That's right. Things inevitably do go wrong sometimes. Employee satisfaction can dip, disputes arise. So the maintenance function needs a formal process for this. Grievance handling is that formal, structured process for addressing and resolving employee complaints, concerns, or disputes.
And the goal isn't just to process complaints, is it? It's about the quality of the resolution.
Absolutely. The goal is to provide a safe, recognized channel for people to voice dissatisfaction and then reach a resolution that's fair and equitable. And critically, the process itself needs to be confidential to protect the employee raising the issue, timely so problems don't fester and escalate, and fundamentally fair to maintain trust in management of the HR system.
The sources give a really detailed look at the types of grievances. Just seeing the list shows how many different things can cause workplace conflict. Good to know for exams, I imagine. 6 major categories.
Yeah, understanding the potential sources helps anticipate and maybe even prevent issues. Let's run through them. First, work conditions. This can be serious safety concerns, like lack of protective gear, or more everyday things like complaints about the office being too hot or too cold or not clean enough. The physical environment.
Second, pay and benefits. This is often pretty clear-cut. Issues with salary calculations, overtime pay errors, incorrect deductions, or complaints about how benefits like vacation time, health insurance, or retirement plans are administered.
Third category, and this one can be really difficult. Management and supervision. This is a big bucket. It includes poor management practices, unclear instructions, lack of support, favoritism. It also includes very serious issues like discriminatory treatment, harassment, sexual or otherwise, and perceived nepotism. Basically, anything related to unfair or improper treatment by a manager.
Okay, fourth category.
Fourth is job roles and career development. Grievances here might stem from unclear or constantly changing job duties, a lack of opportunities for growth, training, or promotion, feeling constantly overloaded with work overload, or issues with work-life balance, like excessive hours or pressure to be always available.
Gith.
Fifth, interpersonal relations, straightforward conflicts between coworkers, or broader communication breakdowns within a team or department. And finally, sixth, company policies and ethics. This could be about policies seen as unfair, outdated, or applied inconsistently, or really serious ethical concerns, maybe witnessing fraud, dishonesty, or other illegal activities.
Wow, that covers a lot of ground.
So because grievances can be so varied and potentially damaging, the process for handling them needs to be really structured. The sources lay out an 8-step procedure. Yes, a systematic approach is essential. Step 1. Reporting. The employee formally submits the complaint through the designated channel. Could be a form, an email, a conversation with HR or their manager, depending on the policy. Step 2. Acknowledgement. HR or management confirms they've received the grievance and usually makes a quick initial assessment. How serious is it? Does it seem valid on the surface? Step 3. Investigation. This is the fact-finding stage. Gathering information, interviewing the people involved, the person who complained, the person being complained about, any witnesses, collecting relevant documents or evidence, reviewing company policies. Okay, after the investigation. Step 4 is evaluation. HR analyzes all the information gathered during the investigation. They figure out what actually happened, whether policies were violated, and formulate a decision or at least a recommended course of action. This is the thinking phase. Step 5 is resolution, taking action based on the evaluation. This could range from disciplinary action against an employee to changes in policy, mediation between parties, requiring an apology, providing additional training, whatever is needed to resolve the specific issue. Step 6 is feedback. You have to formally inform the employee who raised the grievance about the outcome. Explain the decision and the reasoning behind it. Closing the loop is important.
And the last 2 steps sound crucial for making sure it's truly resolved and documented.
Absolutely vital. Step 7 is documentation. Keeping detailed records of everything. The initial complaint, investigation notes, interviews, evidence, the decision, the resolution steps taken. This is critical for legal compliance and consistency. And step 8 is follow-up. Checking back after a period to make sure the resolution actually worked. Did this situation improve? Is the employee satisfied with the outcome? Is the problem recurring? This ensures the fix actually sticks.
That structured approach to maintenance, especially handling conflict fairly, seems like it would tie directly into the 4th pillar, motivation.
Right.
Because if people feel issues are handled fairly, they're more likely to stay engaged.
Precisely. Motivation is the engine, as we said. It drives the whole HRM system. To really manage people effectively, you have to understand what drives them, their internal needs and desires.
So the concept of motivation itself, it comes from the word motive, needs, desires, wants.
Exactly. Motivation is the process of stimulating people towards actions that help achieve goals. It's fundamentally psychological. The factors involved are complex desire for money, sure, but also success, recognition, feeling satisfied with your job, being part of a good team.
And it's described as a process with stages.
Yeah, a simple 3-stage model. First, there's a felt need or drive you feel like something is missing or lacking. Second, there's a stimulus that arouses that need. Something happens internally or externally that makes you want to act. Third, if you act and succeed, you get satisfaction or accomplishment of goals, which fulfills the initial need. Managers need to tap into this cycle.
And why is motivation so important for the organization? What are the big benefits? The sources list 5.
5 key benefits, yes, and they echo the significance points we discussed earlier. First, motivation puts human resources into action. It bridges the gap between having people and having people who are actively working towards goals, maximizing resource use. Second, it improves the level of efficiency. Motivation fills that gap between someone's ability to do the job and their willingness to do it well. This leads directly to higher productivity, better quality, lower costs.
Makes sense. What else?
Third, it leads to achievement of organizational goals. You can't hit ambitious targets without motivated employees who are goal-directed and willing to cooperate. Fourth, it helps build friendly relationships. Things like fair incentive plans, clear promotion paths, even consistent handling of poor performance. They reduce conflict and foster a more stable, positive environment, fewer disputes.
And the 5th benefit?
Fifth, it leads to stability of the workforce. Motivated employees tend to be more loyal. They feel involved, maybe through participation in decisions. This creates a good company image, which helps attract more good people. And keeping experienced people is a huge advantage. As the sources say, old is gold, that experience is valuable. Reducing turnover saves money and retains knowledge.
Okay, so motivation is clearly critical. To understand how to motivate, especially for exam purposes, we need to look at the foundational theories, starting with Abraham Maslow's need hierarchy model.
Yes, Maslow is fundamental. His theory suggests human behavior is driven by needs arranged in a hierarchy. Managers need to understand this hierarchy because, crucially, Maslow believed only unsatisfied needs motivate behavior. Once a need is met, it stops being a primary driver.
And he proposed 5 levels of needs in a specific order.
That's right, a pyramid structure. At the very bottom of the foundation are physiological needs, basic survival stuff. Food, water, shelter, warmth, clothing. Until these are reasonably met, people aren't focused on much else.
Once survival is covered.
The next level up is safety needs. This is about security and stability. Job security, protection from physical harm, financial security, like having insurance or a pension plan. Feeling safe and predictable.
Okay, physiological, then safety. What's next?
Third are social needs, also called belongingness and love needs. Humans are social creatures. We need connection, affection, friendship, acceptance by a group. Teamwork and a positive social environment at work tap into this. Above social needs are esteem needs. This is about self-respect and getting respect from others. It includes things like status, recognition, achievement, confidence, independence, feeling competent and valued.
At the top of the pyramid.
The highest level is self-actualization needs. Maslow believed people only reach this level once the lower 4 needs are largely satisfied. This is about fulfilling your full potential, seeking growth, creativity, challenge, autonomy, making the most of your abilities. The big takeaway for managers: you can't motivate someone with, say, a chance for achievement, esteem, if they're worried about losing their job next week, safety. You need to address the lowest unmet need first.
That makes sense. Moving from individual needs to how managers perceive employees, we have Douglas McGregor's Theory X and Theory Y, 2 contrasting views.
Exactly. McGregor proposed that managers hold one of 2 basic sets of assumptions about people, and these assumptions dictate how they manage.
Let's start with Theory X. That's the more traditional, maybe negative view.
Yes, Theory X is the pessimistic view. It assumes employees inherently dislike work and will avoid it if they can. Therefore, they must be coerced, controlled, directed, or threatened with punishment to get them to work towards organizational goals. Theory X also assumes people prefer to be directed, want to avoid responsibility, have little ambition, and prioritize security above all else. So management needs tight controls, strict rules, limited autonomy.
And Theory Y is the opposite, more optimistic.
Much more optimistic and participative. Theory Y assumes work is as natural as play or rest. People don't inherently dislike it. It assumes people will exercise self-direction and self-control towards objectives they are committed to, especially if achieving those objectives brings rewards they value. Theory Y also believes the average person can learn to accept, even seek, responsibility, and that creativity, ingenuity, imagination, they're widely distributed in the population, not just held by managers. This leads to a management style based on empowerment, trust, and participation.
Okay, X and Y are about the manager's assumptions. Then there's Frederick Hertzberg's 2-factor theory. This one came from interviews, and it challenges how we think about satisfaction.
Yes, Hertzberg interviewed about 200 engineers and accountants about times they felt exceptionally good or bad about their jobs. He found something crucial. The things that make people dissatisfied are different from the things that make them satisfied and motivated. They aren't just opposites on one scale. He identified 2 distinct sets of factors.
The first set are hygiene factors, also called dissatisfiers.
Right. Hygiene factors or maintenance factors. These are related to the context of the job. They're external to the work itself. Think company policy, the quality of supervision, working conditions, salary, job security, relationships with coworkers and supervisors, impact on personal life, status. Here's the key point. The absence of good hygiene factors causes dissatisfaction, but their presence only prevents dissatisfaction. It doesn't actually create positive motivation or satisfaction. They just bring you to a neutral point, meeting minimum expectations.
So good pay stops people from being unhappy about pay, but it doesn't necessarily make them excited about the job itself.
Exactly. That excitement, that real motivation, comes from the second set. Motivating factors, also called satisfiers or job content factors. These are intrinsic to the work itself. Things like achievement, getting recognition for that achievement, opportunities for advancement, the nature of the work itself. Is it interesting? The possibility of personal growth, having responsibility. For these factors, Hertzberg found their presence leads to high motivation and satisfaction. But their absence doesn't cause strong dissatisfaction, just a lack of satisfaction. More of a neutral state again, but on the satisfaction side.
So the big conclusion from Hertzberg, especially for managers trying to motivate people.
The conclusion is profound. If you want to truly motivate employees, improving hygiene factors like salary or working conditions isn't enough. That just stops complaints. The real key is to focus on enriching the jobs themselves, building in more opportunities for achievement, recognition, responsibility, growth. The motivating factors make the work itself more rewarding.
And that really ties everything together, doesn't it? From the initial planning and job analysis, through acquiring and developing people, maintaining the relationship fairly, and finally understanding the deep psychological drivers of motivation that underpin the whole system.
It really does form a complete cycle. Each part influences the others.
Okay, that was a very comprehensive deep dive. We've covered a lot. We started with the core definition and the DeCenzo and Robbins 4 pillars: acquisition, development, motivation, maintenance. We unpacked the 5 points of HRM's significance, detailed those 9 crucial applications of job analysis, navigated the sources and methods for recruitment, and the 9 steps of selection. We nailed the key distinction between training, definite purpose, and development, general purpose, laid out the 8 steps for handling grievances fairly, and synthesized those foundational motivation theories from Maslow, McGregor, and Herzberg. That was a lot to cover.
It was. And as you review this, maybe for an exam, remember that all those structured processes, selection steps, grievance steps, they don't happen in a vacuum. They are executed through the lens of how management views motivation. A company truly focused on Herzberg's motivators will handle grievances or design jobs very differently than one primarily relying on hygiene factors or operating under Theory X assumptions. The underlying philosophy shapes the practice.
That's a great point to end on, which leads us to our final provocative thought for you, the listener, to mull over. Think about a manager who genuinely believes in McGregor's Theory X that people dislike work and need to be controlled. How might they design the grievance handling procedure? Maybe focusing on speed, control, punishment. Now contrast that with a manager committed to Theory Y, believing people are self-directed and seek responsibility. How might their approach to grievance resolution, especially the evaluation and follow-up steps, be fundamentally different based purely on their assumptions about what drives the employee? Something to think about.